Oh, we didn't cue that. What's up, everyone?
What's
Kory,
going on?
JD.
Hey, Qiana.
Same difference crowd. We appreciate everybody for tuning in live with us on our first go round.
Yes.
So this is going to definitely be a human experience today.
Amen.
I'm very much looking forward to it.
Good doctor. It's been a while. Haven't seen you in person in weeks. DJFMI, Qianathegoddess. So grateful to have you backing us up.
Oh, we are happy to be here, and we're happy to stand behind you guys. You are truly phenomenal, and I can't wait to delve into season 1. I mean, behind the scenes, we're just having so much fun. So I know on air, this is going to be a blast. So do you guys want to kind of talk about what Same Difference is, and then we'll just delve into it for those that don't know?
Sure. In the beginning, I posted something on Facebook. I'd won a storytelling competition called a Moth Grand Slam. And in my comments, I get this notice from Dr. J.D. Mass. I have no idea who this guy is, but that's how LinkedIn works. You meet people, you don't necessarily know exactly who they are. They're aligned with your purpose. And he tells me congratulations. And we talk. He says he's moved to Florida. I still have no idea who he is. And then I say, well, why don't we connect? I'm interested in what you're doing with your anti-racism work and your DEI specialty. And that's where he takes over.
Yes, so I had the wrong Kory May, spelled the same shape head, and all black folks look alike to us white folks. And so
now we're getting kids.
I'm reaching out like we know each other, because I didn't just call him Kory or whatever. I called him K May, and trying to be cool and be impressive and shit, So here I am reaching out to him like we know each other, and when he says we should get to know each other, I thought, what is that all about? And now I have to look up his profile. I don't know this guy. And so we exchanged information and we kind of talked. And the one thing we both said was, I'd love to start a podcast. I just don't know the angle. And we left that night saying, okay, let's think about it. And before I fell asleep, I went, wow, a black man grew up in Iowa. I can only imagine he grew up around a bunch of white folks. And me, having grown up around a bunch of black folks, like, there's a story there. And so we talked and we decided, let's get to know each other live on the on the podcast. So as everybody else in our crowd can get to know us, we can get to know each other as well. And
Right.
that's how we came about.
Yeah. And I personally love the organic authenticity behind it all, right? Because like even when we were on the phone, you were like, I don't know you.
And Key, my thing is, I never asked this question after the fact. Did you ever get in contact with the original Kory May?
No,
the Kory
wait,
May
hold up.
Oh,
The real Kory May.
I'm the okay.
I am
I am the okay.
Okay. Gotcha.
Don't get it twisted. I'm the okay.
I understand.
We will eventually get the other Kory May on, but right now,
the other Kory May.
Yeah.
I didn't other him like that. Okay, here, just for you, we will get the non-same difference Kory May on as well. There you go. Jeez.
That has a ring to it. Cause I sat back this whole time. I've heard this story. Same Different podcast. Thank you for everyone that's tuning in right now. This is the first time they're going live on the platform, having guests up here. So I'm excited to be your first guest. And I've watched the platform behind the scenes when it comes out on YouTube. So this is all refreshing here. Now that we know down the line that the other Kory May, the non-Same Difference podcast Kory May will be joining us, I'm looking forward to seeing some of the content that you guys bring down the line. and just to dive more into your story, because I know the viewers here that are tuned in, we have 5 live viewers. Thank you. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. These are your hosts. I'm going to stop speaking and let them take over. But I'm DJFMI, YNVS. I'm in the building here. If you're not familiar with everything that I do over the thing of the interview, hopefully you get to know me. And JD, Kory, I'm going to let you guys have the floor, of course.
So to just bring it full circle, when Kory and I started working on it, we didn't know each other enough to even trust that we could go forward. We just kind of, put the effort in, and he would make a move, came up with the same difference logo. And so I feel good and I'm making a move and he's feeling good. And so we're talking about putting this together in really faith and work, right? And so as we start to meet people that say, oh, I can do this for you, I can do that for you, we had an opportunity that kind of led us to even push this forward faster. And that company just wasn't ready in time to produce us as a podcast. And so given the relationship I was developing with you all, and given the relationship that, when we put Kory on the phone with you guys, that the natural connection to it, we came and we asked, VPR, can we be your first extension of a podcast and content? And you helped produce us. And so we're here today because you guys really gave us that last bit of, this is how you do it. Here's our platform. You can use it, and let's go in and make this happen. And even when we were nervous about it not being perfect enough, Qiana would be like, get out there and just do it.
Right. Every step along the way, it was a learning process, right? So you start off with an idea of having a podcast and you start talking about it. JD and I, to this day, still are learning about each other through the podcast. It's been very specific that we don't get to know each other offline, so that every conversation is real, unscripted, unedited, raw, authentic. And it's never, ever been like, why don't you say this line here? Oh, how about this line here? No.
Yeah.
It's always been just a fluid conversation. In the first couple of episodes, it was still a little stiff. But as we move 5, 6 in, it starts to turn into a conversation that you'd overhear at a bar over 2 guys drinking beer and having wings together.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys are, right? Like the beard and wing, like the parallels in your lives for you to be like complete opposites physically, right? You
Qiana,
parallel experiences.
Last week, what did Kory say that had me and you just crying on the video call? He said something. It was an analogy that really just it was I don't know.
Country analogies, get no better than that.
Same difference, podcast viewers. You are going to hear a plethora of analogies from Kory May and stories that they're quite interesting. But when you hear these analogies, I promise you, just like me, you won't forget them. You won't forget. It'll just stick with you. It'll resonate. You know what I mean? His upbringing, his culture. I love it from the standpoint of I only know the African American culture, Belizean culture from New York. I'm raised from that setting in an urban environment. With Kory, on the other hand, being my black brother. Kory, introduce him and tell him where you're from, just so they understand it, please. So,
tell them about the cornfields, Kory.
Please.
Don't leave anything out.
I'm Kory May, the original Kory May, born and raised in Iowa City, Iowa. It's a college town where the University of Iowa Hawkeyes reside. And yes, within 15 minutes of me, easily, there's cornfields. Wide open spaces, cornfields. I am not a child of the corn myself. I never worked on a farm or anything like that. Yes, indeed. The few, the proud, the black Iowans. All right, there we go.
The few, the proud, the black Iowans. You heard that same different podcast?
Apparently, though, the cornfields are where they do their cruising at.
Wow, just all day, an all-day roast. This is what this is today. All right.
But I think just coming from your guys' background, diverse backgrounds, the sheer chance that you guys are contacting each other and still starting the podcast from this organic experience is dope. And I'm looking forward to the episodes that you guys are going to produce, because I could only imagine the content of two people that are actually getting to know each other. I didn't know you were avoiding texting and doing all of that. See, that's commitment. That's commitment to avoiding the conversations off air. But I think you're still engaged in that. So coming up in the next few episodes or next season, what are some of the topics that you want to discuss and some of the things that you're going to dive into?
Well, let's backtrack just a little bit on your previous statement. If we end up talking on the phone, what ends up happening is the greatest podcasts never recorded. We go into these deep dives or something like that. One of the ideas that we're going to talk about is the sociological impact of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese on the WNBA, and not only on the court, not only in the arenas, but outside as a cultural phenomenon, and to dig deep into that so that we have a greater understanding. Now, the punditry over this has been huge, but JD and I have also hit on some things that haven't been spoken yet, and maybe it'll still be topical in a month and a half or so when we start back up. But regardless, we're going to talk about things like that.
So the first season, it's a lot of storytelling with a little bit of, when Martin Luther King Day birthday holiday was, then we got to kind of talk about how that meant to us, right? We talked about different social things that happened when it was, talking about the OJ trial or that part of our life. And we're still getting to know each other. That we want to keep the main thing still in season 2. We just got into the early stages of my Nelly career taking off. And so that is going to be important to us as far as going forward, really getting to know each other as adults and starting to bring in more of the social discussions like Kory was mentioning, based on the fact of where we're coming from and how we kind of formulated these ideologies and approaches.
There will be a conversation or two about voting and the election.
We need that.
It's important. We're going to try to continue to talk about, we will continue to talk about issues and how the issues affect our lives. So the storytelling topic, let's say voting, then we'll start discussing issues of how voting has affected our lives, the choices that we've made, choices that we wish we could change. Those opportunities are out there. But every issue that happens in our lives, we can tell a story about and relate it to each other. His view is going to be different from mine. It may be parallel. It could be the same, but we aren't going to have those opportunities unless and until we talk to each other and talk with each other. Let me add one more point. That Same Difference podcast is a reflection of what is possible, okay? Where a black man and a white man can discuss issues without devolving into sound bites where we're giving bumper sticker philosophy on things that we don't want to dig deep into. We will go deep into the issues. Why? Because they're important to us. And if we have a story that can relate to it and can make it plain, that's important as well.
Right.
I completely agree. And JD, before we go further, because we touched on Kory's background, can you give everyone here that isn't familiar a little bit? Because you talked about, your career with Nelly. We're not going to get all the way into that because I know you guys are going to do that together. But tell us about your background and how that's different.
Yeah, so my parents purposely wanted to raise their children so I was born in mid-70s, my sister's early 80s. They purposely wanted to raise their children around Black folks, around Black community. And so their intention was to teach us not to be racist at a time when inherently, and we still kind of have that inherently, we are taught to be racist based on the systems that exist and conversations and news media and everything else. And so they wanted to make sure that, we grew up differently than they did and didn't know what they were getting into, didn't know the depth of what that meant or the differences in the cultures. They just knew that their experience with Black folks growing up on their own, and it was very limited, was always positive to them, and wanting to see a level of justice, wanting to see a level of equity was always important to them, and wanting us to have a relationship in that community was important. And so doing that, they put me in the greatest place on earth, University City. Shout out to Jason Tatum, who just won the championship, showing
damn
off
Boston.
I know.
Yeah. I'm just gonna
not always
the most
me.
rings. Damn it!
Right.
Exactly. That being said, U City was like this sort of place where diversity took place inside St. Louis, which is ultra segregated. And because of that, we were able to experience almost a whole eclectic life of what the life looked like outside, and develop relationships and be willing to experience and go into any kind of setting and feel confident, because we dealt with white folks in white community, we've dealt with Black folks in Black community, and this was all growing up inherently that made it easier for us to move around and do whatever.
Right. And then Kory, you were one of a few, right? You said Iowa.
Yeah, I love that. That's the line. That has
you,
to be
the Black and the proud.
You gotta make that into a book.
Real tagline there.
Yeah, that's fire.
There were 2 Black men that graduated from Iowa City High Schools my senior year, myself and my best friend, Rich Ascroft.
Wow.
If you're out there, Rich, shout out. Love you, bro. Because it was us. We were it. Yeah. That was 1985. There were just 2 of us.
Talk about we all we got.
Yeah. Right.
The funny thing is that my son graduated from Iowa City West High in 2013, and there were far more of us since then. So
now, what is far more? Does that mean like you can't count them all because it's so many, or does it mean it's still like a sprinkling among? Right? Is it like a handful, 3 handfuls, or because far more than 2 could still just be 12, right?
No, it was significant, like 50, 60.
Okay.
Which was an increase, a tremendous increase.
Mm-hmm. That's good to see.
You know what I'm saying? A lot more people got lost in the cornfield, and then boom. I ended up there. Wow. Everybody graduate. As long as everybody graduate, let's keep the rates up. You know what I mean? Let's give them. It's not degrees. It was high school, right? She said, no.
It was high school.
It was high school. Okay. Well, guys, some of the things that has been affecting me recently. I know you guys, JD, you pay attention to some hip hop. Kory, I don't know if you watch hip hop by any chance, here and there. Well,
I'm paying attention to it because my kids tell me I should.
Okay.
And
this goes perfectly into the Same Difference podcast conversation. So I find myself a lot. I was about to say VPR. I find myself a lot Same Difference. Just sitting there thinking after these events, I'm interacting with so many artists, and I'm really listening to the point of their music and the things that they're talking about in their music, the subject matter, right? And then we wake up here, we get on VPR, and we say these positive words, and we touch people's lives. But then I think to myself sometimes, I'm like, hey, these artists are going home too. Some of them live in shelters that are working with me. Some of them don't have, and they're like, hey, I came here to this show, but I got to make it back by 12 because I can't get kicked out of my shelter. When I'm hearing stories like that, it's just really shaking me to my core. So I bring it up here today is an artist in Florida. I think he turned 26. His name is Julio or something like that. Julio. And he was shot down on his birthday. He was killed. But the thing that really took me back, not because he's a rapper and he lost his life on his birthday. He was mocking someone else years prior about killing them on their birthday because he did, or the people around him allegedly. And they were making dance songs and, mocking this guy. We killed you on your 23rd birthday. And now 3 years later, they killed you on your 26th birthday.
Wow.
And it brought me back to the moment with those rappers that I deal with on these stages and their subject matter and what we're putting out. And what better a place to speak about this than Same Difference Podcast, right, Kory? Right, JD? With our host here.
Right.
So as you hear these killings of these young men and you see how hip hop is affecting our youth now, what are some of the ways you feel like, or we can get more of a positive message out than to maybe stop these kids before they make it to the gun, stop these kids before they make it to the trap house? You know, I think that'd be something to discuss.
Do you want to take this one first, or do you want me to
Kendrick,
jump in?
Yeah, Kendrick did something great, you know, in getting everybody up on stage from different gangs, and he obviously planned this out, spoke about planning this out. You know, that level of importance of showing at his height in the game was a very great move. Especially, I lived in LA for 15 years. That culture is deep rooted out there because so many of us in other cities that have taken on gang culture, you know, Crip and Blood. Out here in St. Louis, it became heavy right after the movie Colors, just like in so many other places. There wasn't the same connection to the deep-rooted what began this, wasn't the same understanding of how involved the LAPD and the FBI were in making this something where pitting people against each other when these were actually spinoffs from like the Black Panther Party and other parties like that to uplift the community. And, you know, you start to add all of these things in.
The community
right.
from the police, right? Right. Like,
so,
we talked about this before, so I'm so happy that you get into this because I love to remind people that where the gang culture is today was not the whole purpose of why this
was
began.
Not at all. And so you create this like brush fire of hopelessness, of lack of resources, of all of these things, and then you add the flame. I mean, you add the guns and the drugs, which is like putting lighter fluid on the brush fire, and then you set it on fire by manipulating these folks against each other. And now you have this culture that you don't have to do anything other than shine a light on and make it look a certain way and all of this. And so this level of hopelessness leads to all of these other feelings of, wanting to hurt somebody and kill somebody and not having a love for life, because you don't even go out and really see the trees and the flowers and the grass and what life really is on the earth. All you're seeing is this despair and this level of hopelessness that the culture, and that's what's allowed to be promoted more than the positive, rap for so long. Right.
Same
Jay-Z
Difference Podcast. Make sure y'all tune in. Same Difference Podcast. This is why you guys tune in here. Continue, JD. I love this. Go ahead.
Jay-Z talked about, I would love to rap like Common, but it don't make no money. And so if you're
don't make sense, right?
Right. And so if this is the way that the systems are set up to give a reward to this and stymie this, it's like now we have these social media platforms, and it's very difficult if you're speaking the truth to get pushed through the algorithm. Right now, if you just speak about a one-off situation or talking about race can be popular only when you talk about it in this specific instance. But when you're trying to break down race and talk about systemic issues, you don't get the same level of popularity. Everything in this system is designed to give hope to a certain level of conversation and stymie other conversations, so that you're even promoting this drama and the killing and the murder and something that's going to keep us fearful and showing the culture in a certain light. So,
right.
And to talk about how real that is, and I'm glad you touched on that algorithm too. The first time that you appeared on VPR, JD, I got blocked from Facebook. A couple weeks later, your second, and I was blocked for like 7 days. The second time you appeared, I was blocked for a month. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
FMI, y'all remember, right? I was like, this is not a coincidence. That algorithm, and then our numbers were dropping and dropping.
Yep, I remember. Shadow banned like a month.
Hello.
I peed.
So,
Kory, I think that you had
damn
something
white
to add.
man.
This is about JD's got a lot of this here. I want to amplify this point again. This is about resources, and if you reduce resources in an area, all of a sudden everything becomes that much more competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of an abundance where everybody can get everything, you have reduced resources, whether that's taxes, whether that's bus routes and transportation, whether that's food deserts, whether that's wide open spaces, all those sorts of things. You are now in greater competition with more people for fewer things. And now, instead of abundance, you have competition for survival. And that changes your perspective on how you behave. It changes your perspective on everything with regard to everyday life. Again, if you know full well that the only way you're going to make money is to cut down Black culture, then you're going to do what needs to be done because you're trying to feed yourself and feed yours.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got a whole bunch of people with that exact same mindset. The system is working the way it's supposed to work.
Yes.
Let's jump back even further because I'm an old school hip hop guy. There was a time when Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five dropped The Message, and it gave us a portrait into life. For me in Iowa, that was a portrait into New York life, right? Some aspect of New York life. You've got KRS-One dropping science all over the map. You've got Public Enemy. Now, they were dropping bombs, talking real. And then all of a sudden, they weren't popular anymore. They weren't cool anymore. And instead of information about how to uplift, we get gangster rap. And gangster rap shines a light on a certain aspect of life. But after the second or third album of the same thing, this isn't about expanding our consciousness. This is about stacking dollars.
Right, because scarcity breeds fear, right? And when you exist in that energy, that's where everyone is.
Exactly.
And right now, I just want to tell everybody, Same Difference Podcast, you might be asking, why do we have the video playing in the back? That video that is playing in the back is the rapper that has had his life taken away from him. Right now, this is the song that made him famous. It's a remix to Fantasia, When I See You. And he was rapping about when he sees his ops. The person on the picture that he's pouring the bottle on is the ops that apparently he was shot on their birthday. And now these group of people apparently or allegedly killed him 3 years later. So he's celebrating that there, you know, and now they're making a video celebrating him dying the same way, pouring alcohol on, you know, those 3 dead bodies. So it's crazy. Same Difference Podcast. While you woke up on a Wednesday with JD Mass and Kory May. You got we are a guest here today, Qianathegoddess and DJFMI. Shout out to everybody on the stream. YNVS Guala has checked in. He's listening to what Kory and JD has had to say. Let's continue this conversation. I think it can get even deeper. But go ahead.
So we talk about, like, one of my favorite lines is, you know, the scarcity creates a crab in the barrel kind of mentality, right? But nobody talks about the fact that the crabs aren't naturally born into barrels, right? So crabs in a barrel means that they were put into a barrel. Scarcity doesn't exist on the planet. It exists in our systems, in our economic systems, in our ways of trying to control each other. And right, the earth is not have a scarcity. We create scarce scenarios because we know that develops into competition. We know how to control people at a certain level. That's worked. And, you know, that stems from us white folks coming from a scarce area where before we had all this knowledge of resources and everything, we developed this competition level and this race and this everything to push us towards trying to control the resources. And so now we know, you know, Germans did that to Jews. Okay, create a scarcity, put them in ghettos, and we can create harm. It's social. It's been done like that in social experiments everywhere. And the most important people to stop, if you want to control something, is a people who came from an abundance mentality, who honor peace, sharing, supporting each other. And how do we influence over 400 years of trying to manipulate a group to appear as if they're violent, don't care, careless, this, that, and the other. And for some, the level of hopelessness is that much, and don't have the opportunity to see anything different, that you do create that, right? And you do get to shine a light on that, because we control the cameras, lights, and action, and the algorithms and everything else.
Right.
The hope is that there can be a breakthrough given the technology exists. It's the approach that has to be different.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, you know, and we're Libras, right? FMI. So it's really all about the balance. And I think what we're seeing in society is a complete imbalance, and it's remained that way, right? Like you said, I was watching a documentary on like Norway and these different areas, and I'm looking, and I was just speaking on this the other day. I was like, when you look at the level of scarcity on this land, like it's beautiful, it's breathtaking, but there's nothing. Right? The animals are on top of each other. When the summer comes, it's only 50 something degrees, right? The food isn't abundant. And then you look at nations like Africa and Brazil, all the ones that were colonized, right? That are abundant and rich with oil and with gold and natural minerals and food. And, you know, even the animals are abundant enough where nobody's going extinct. So this has been happening for so many years. But I truly feel with enough of these messages that we are spreading, right? And I do see it's peppered here and there, but like you said, JD, it's not always spotlighted, right? But when you have the spotlight, it is imperative for you to speak on these things, because otherwise this is all we're going to continue to see. And it's easy to say it's hopeless, but I made it out the hood. Like
that's
projects, food stamps that you rip out of the book. You understand?
Right.
My kids didn't come from that. So generationally, that's what I come from. But I know for a fact that it can be changed, and it begins with a mindset. And it does definitely begin with exposure and opportunity, even opportunities that were in front of me that I wasn't able to take. Just to see it, that glimpse of hope can sometimes create a spark. And for me personally, that's why I've worked with ACS and go and speak at schools. It's so important to connect with these kids, because a lot of times they don't think that anything exists until you give them that spark. Right?
The underlying issue for this in so many ways is there is a segment of society that looks at Black culture as being less than, that it's filled with a whole bunch of pathologies and negative aspects. And that's all quote unquote Black culture is. But it's far more than that. This weekend, I had to moderate a funeral for a favorite uncle, my Uncle George. And this was in Chicagoland. I experienced something that I call Black love all weekend, where I was drained from the experience, but I was filled up. Physically, I was tired. I was worn out, but I was filled with so much love because it was an atmosphere where it was completely safe to be Black in America. And we sat down and we shared food and we shared stories, and we were able to grieve and laugh in an environment that said it's okay to be Black. I wish everybody could feel what that feels like and not commercialize it and not want to gentrify it, not want to steal it, appropriate it, and market it so that it's on an end cap at a bulk warehouse for
Come
someone.
to our Black People Stay Resort. It is the BET for Black people and resort. Welcome to.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Place in America to be Black, only $9.99 per night.
Right. And what I felt was, how do I grab that and share that with my kids so that they feel safe enough to come to me with any problem that they've got, to recognize that they can throw their shoulders back, stand tall, and simply understand I come from strong people with a heritage that is something of which I can be proud, and that I can go forth with that pride on my shoulders, that pride shining in my face as I walk forward. And those are the conversations that I've had in the last 48 hours with my children. It's like, let me show you Black love, because I felt it again.
And that's the true, if you go Black, you never go back feeling that I have, right? The welcoming,
not wrong.
The welcoming into the community. Like, once you felt that, and you know how to show up to the barbecue and not start bringing your own potato salad
with raisins, right?
With raisins,
right?
We don't do that.
And, you know, once you come and you don't complain about the thickness of the potato salad, and you just want it with some little slight dressing and no salt. Once you really learn how to just be a participant and learn a different culture, it's an amazing transformation. But that's part of how segregation is so weaponized, that so many of us that look like me don't get a chance to really experience Black love enough to know. All we get is fed the culture that really is a reflection of us, that is portrayed to be yours. So you get people like Ben Shapiro yelling at Black folks on a stage, your culture is violent and you don't care about this and you don't care about that and you're ignorant and you're this, that, and the other. And really, Ben, that's a reflection of our culture. And yet you don't know anything because you've just been fed and you know how to regurgitate that information. And too many of us are afraid to really learn that our culture is not great, and there is another culture that we could learn from to get to the greatness and level that we want.
Exactly. And part of Black love is just simply, again, just being able to be. And there was no fear involved. No fear involved. I didn't have to fear anybody. I could just sit and eat and meet cousins that I've never met and have conversations with strangers completely safe.
Right. You weren't going to get jumped after eating your apple pancakes, right?
Oh, Kory, you're not wrong about
that.
Apple pancakes.
I saw that plate.
That's a shout out.
He really had it on his plate?
Yeah,
I thought you just made that up. I was just
no. You'll have to go to my Facebook page, but we were at the original Pancake House in Oak Forest, Illinois, and they had an apple pancake that was the size of a dinner plate. It was delicious. I got to tell you, it was delicious. Whew.
Guys,
everybody, you got to have one of those at least once in your life, because it'll change your life. It'll change your life.
Cheese. Don't worry, I still owe you a chopped cheese. I know we discussed
it before.
Yeah, so I got to get the apple for the pancake.
For everything, we'll give you some mushrooms in your chopped cheese. We'll substitute, and whatever you use other than cheese. All right. A vegan faux chopped cheese.
Yeah. Vegan faux chopped cheese. You can do it. You know what I mean? Put some peppers in there.
That's for JD.
Yeah, so I'm glad it was for him, because I was JD. I guess this is for you.
No. You get all the real fixings.
Thank you.
So let me ask you a question. I know people are going to be tuned in here. What is going to be the release schedule for season 2? When can they tune in to watch you guys live for these episodes? Because they're loving you on the live right now. They have been tuned in for the 40 minutes that we've been up here. You've been getting likes and hearts. So what's going to be the schedule of like the rollout of your content and when they can watch you?
First week in September, right after Labor Day, we're going to start season 2. We may do a couple of live just conversations in the meantime, even showing some of our planning. We're working all of that out right now, but definitely season 2 will begin that first week of September is our target date right now. And yeah, great stories to tell still to come.
And that's the important thing, is the storytelling shares our life experience. If JD experienced it, I'm not going to question that. And JD asks me questions. When I say question that, I'm not saying that didn't happen. I know that didn't happen. Alex, I'll take things that didn't happen for 1,000. No, none of that. It's more like, tell me more about that experience. I want to know more about how you felt in that circumstance. And JD's worked diligently to ask me those same types of questions about being Black in Iowa, right? The more we talk, the more it is possible to have an understanding of how someone else's life was. Too often, the prevailing media gives us the idea that we've all had the same experiences, or, and that therefore we're colorblind, or their existence is so different from ours that they could barely be human beings. I'm not having that. I have a podcast co-host who has had similar experiences and is able to share them in such a way that he grabs other people and brings them in and makes them want to know what's going to happen next.
Right, because you're both incredible storytellers, truly. Now, I want to ask you both a question, right? You both had mixed experiences in your life growing up. From a childhood perspective, what was the most racist experience that you both personally had or witnessed directly, and how did it affect you, and do you think helped to kind of shape where you are today? I know that's a deep question.
I'll jump in first. Second grade, the country kids came into Iowa City. Yeah. I know you're rolling your eyes, Qiana. I can hear you roll your eyes from here about country kids. No, there are children that were outside of Iowa City that were bussed into Iowa City, and they were all white. And in second grade, a kid called me the N-bomb for the first time. And I came home and I asked my dad, what did it mean? And he was hurt. He was hurt that in the 1970s that his little boy was going to be called the N-bomb, right? So he walks me over to a mirror and he says, look in here. There are none of those here. You are strong, you are beautiful, you are powerful, and you are smart. There are none of those here. You go back and you tell that boy that you're not that. And make him say your name. Well, got my butt whooped for several days until that Friday, he called me by my first name. So if we spin that a few years, 20 some odd years later, my youngest daughter and middle child, Olivia, came home from school and asked me what the same word was. And I had no idea how to respond. And then my dad's spirit tapped me on the shoulder and said, you tell her what I told you. And the joy of it is that the advice still works. The tragedy of the moment is that it still happens.
Wow. JD?
Mine was police related, like just walking with my friends in the neighboring or right next to us neighborhood or municipality, predominantly white, and we would constantly be stopped. And I didn't quite understand at the moment why we were being stopped. I kind of knew that it was happening because my friends were Black, but I didn't know to the level of like they making up stories. Oh, somebody's house got burglarized. We're just, and wanting us to try and talk us into speaking about something we did, even though we hadn't done anything, right? Hoping that we would create something. Oh, well, we only did this or we did that and whatnot. And so the first time when I spoke about, when we were stopped and they really kept us, we were walking home from the Galleria, which was our big mall, and they stopped us and held us for like 15 minutes and kept asking us questions. And finally I was like, well, maybe we could just help you find who you're looking for. My friends was like, oh, no, the hell we can't.
Okay. Let me ask you, I want to delve a little bit more into that, right? Because your experience is so different. So you're accustomed to being a young white boy. If you had white friends, walking with them, never being stopped, right? What did that do for you mentally, where you said, because at some point it had to register, like, every time I'm with my Black friends, now I get included in this, right? Because now you're one of the hooligans too, right? Because you're with them.
Yeah.
So what did that mean for you?
It was the first time I was scared about racism. It was the first time that I thought it was really dangerous to be Black in this society, to have to deal with police who were armed and backed by the system, and then it also even expanded the lack of knowledge or expectation my parents had. They weren't expecting us to be brought home by the police. Like, they woke my parents up one night and told my mom there were no charges, and she thought they were talking like a taxi driver, and they weren't going to charge any money. She was like, oh, thank you. Like she had no idea what was being told to her, right? And so, I can remember my friend being chased out of the grocery store, and he ran around the system, and it's me. Shondo was the one being chased. Mike and Nelly. Shondo and Mike are brothers, and I've known them since I was 4, best friends. And Nelly and me, Nelly and Mike get arrested because we're trying to make sure that the police don't kill Shondo behind the store or harm him. And I'm trying to get out, and they're pushing me to the ground. We're being held in the police station because we're just trying to make sure that we protect the guy that they're chasing. And he doesn't know why we're chasing. We haven't stolen anything. Nothing's going on. We just went in to go get some food for the night, to go to a house party kind of situation. And so that whole thing changes us. And we're right outside of high school when this happened. But there was so many events leading up to that. But the amount of fear that you have with interacting with the police, like when I'm alone, I have to remember I'm white, literally, because I see the police and my fear jumps to a whole nother level. And when they come and start talking to me, I can get away with so much that my friends couldn't get away with.
Right.
So I have, like, even driving past them, sometimes I have to go, oh yeah, you're white, you're fake.
Right.
Pulled
Isn't
over.
that crazy?
Yeah.
It's like, go ahead, Jitty.
Yeah, it's just this natural instinctive fear that has been developed over time, so much so, because when they see me around my Black friends, I've had plenty of cops tell me, you need to get different friends. Why? You don't know nothing about my friends. You're going to say, and I'm dropping them off at work, and you guys are seeing 3 Black friends get out of my car, and you're telling me I need new friends? Like,
hey, JD, I told you what I had to do when I got pulled over by the undercovers. They whoop, whoop. I'll never figure. I was still young. I had my Sonic little plushie in the back of my little Honda. I'm sitting here with my friend, you know what I mean, and my Caucasian friend in the back. We driving around to Rihanna. Rihanna just dropped her album. You're gonna make me feel top of. We were screaming it through the hood, windows down. You know what I'm saying? Loud as hell, blaring at you. You want to make me feel like the man. So my friend says they're pulling us over. I'm like, oh shit! Everybody just act normal. That's just you see how we gotta act normal, even though I'm not breaking a damn crime. But the fact that I have to do it. And then my friend looks at me. He's like, "What's the problem?" And he continues to scream the song. You're gonna make me feel. I'm like, you're gonna get a fucking shot. I'm sorry, language. And I roll out all the windows. He's screaming the song in the back seat. I'm like, I'm not gonna follow this motherfucker. This is gonna happen to me. And then the cop gets to the window, sees him singing it, looks at us in the front seat, laughs, and then walks off. And I'm just sitting there like, so hands on my ceiling.
You got your clearance pass because homeboy in the back was just
I got my hands on the ceiling.
Right. Yeah.
While you pulling me over, and this man is
straight fear.
That was your Monopoly get out of jail free card right there.
Rihanna, and my friend wasn't bothered by it. He was not bothered. He was like, bro, these detectives, I don't care. You're gonna admit, and they didn't care. I was like, that's what y'all. Same Difference podcast. Make sure y'all tune in and check out all the episodes. Of course, season 2 is coming up. We got JD Mash and Kory May. Yeah, man. This conversation this morning, just all of our stories is what's going to make this podcast just take off to the sky. Like I know it. I'm watching the people that's tuning in. They love it.
Shout out. Go ahead, Kory.
One of the things dovetailing on your point there, FMI, I'm 6'4", about 240 pounds. I can't make myself small, right? I can't make myself small. But we're also conditioned that we also have to make white people feel comfortable around us. If I'm bumping Public Enemy,
I know. I'll be turning. I know.
Uncomfortable.
Right.
People are uncomfortable. Or if I'm wearing, I have to watch, tone police my clothing, right? Or else I'm making people uncomfortable.
Yeah, you're a gang member.
Yeah.
Right. There was a movie 10, 15 years ago, or maybe more. It was a remake of Charles Bronson's Death Wish. And it was a shirt that I had that said Death Warrant on it. And someone came up to me and said, "Isn't that offensive?" I'm like, "No, it's just a movie. It was a movie of a remake of a Charles Bronson movie." She's like, "Well, it's kind of scary to me." I'm like, "What am I going to do to you at work?" I had to say, you're putting your fears on me and the shirt for a movie that I thought was pretty cool.
Right.
Talk about projection.
Right. So over and over and over again, there was a book called Whistling Vivaldi, right? And the idea of it is that if this guy whistled things that were, as he was passing, a black man in a white neighborhood or in a white area was whistling music that's identifiable to white people, they would feel that he was less threatening than something else. And again, these are survival skills. I'm not screaming at the top of my lungs any gangster rap. No, because I know I can't do that. Now, can I do it in the privacy of my own place? Oh, yeah. But out in public, people are going to connect my size, my skin tone, my music, and he's a threat.
Right.
Hey, Qiana, and
I'm trying to get my condensed milk and
on aisle 5.
My condensed milk and some peaches. And
oh, you making some peach cobbler? Okay.
Yeah, I do. Why you always gotta get back to a peach? I feel like every time we get back to
fella gotta do what a fella gotta do. Comfort foods.
Nah, it will really trip me out before we get off the subject. You know, remember the Bobby Althoff girl that we were talking about that was coming on all the interviews with the rappers and then making them feel away? The little white girl.
Yes.
What killed me is, right, YG, after They Not Like Us, you know what I'm saying? Treetop Paru, allegedly, right? So he brings her to Compton. And everybody's, hey, baby, I'll throw in Compton. I'm like, oh, it's lit. Oh, shit. And then I'm saying to myself, I'm like, yo, if I walk in Compton, where you from, nigga?
Facts.
Right.
Right.
Where you from?
Period.
Where your grandmama from? Where you sleep at? I've been to Compton.
Didn't Soulja
cousins
Boy
are asked that.
robbed in Compton by the people he was claiming? Like,
But yet we could champion her and parade her through, and everybody, she good. Yo, chill out. Y'all gonna scare her away. They said it on camera.
wow.
I come here and I gotta check in. I can't walk through there because of a hat, but y'all parade her through because what?
Crazy.
Right.
Conditioning, man.
I tell that to white folks all the time. They're more afraid of us getting out of there if we come to visit that neighborhood than you think that they're gonna kill us or whatever because you have been conditioned.
She was feeding her, she was chilling, she was dancing, she was all smart. She was living amongst gang members, nothing but treetop. You know what I mean?
Right.
If me or Qiana or Kory walk anywhere, where you from, sis? Where you from, bro?
I'm not walking through there.
What you banging?
Okay.
I'm just here for my condensed milk and my peaches.
Your peaches.
He's still sticking to his story.
You want to come by my spot? You want to come by my spot in 90 minutes? I'll have some cobbler for you. I'm just trying to get home.
You're gonna make me make a cobbler this weekend.
Honestly, yes, guys. Thank you for, of course, always tuning in. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys' content and seeing you guys flourish because what you have here is a jewel. It's a gem. These conversations need to be had, and they are just glazed over and just walk the path. So we could take some time out here on Same Difference Podcast.
Well, just send a shout out to you guys and all the work that you're doing, not just for us, but just in general. The episodes are constantly at a high level. The guests, the content, your positive and love showing, just approach to everything. It's a beautiful thing that the world needs more of, VPR Radio, and we're just happy to be a part of that family, and we want to grow along with you, holding on to your coattails. We all have great product between the two different podcasts and shows, and this is what the world needs more of. So we're going to keep pushing towards that, and we want to support you guys along the way. So
thanks for showing us all kinds of love and the support, your fans, your shows, constant thought-provoking content. It's never a dull moment.
Thank you.
Never a dull moment.
Well, now we're gonna be sitting back watching you guys. Okay, on however you guys choose to drop it, whatever day, so I could tune in. I'm excited, Qiana.
Yeah.
So before we go and before we part ways and tell everyone where we can find you, let me just ask. So this was your first live. This was your first Same Difference. What did you think? And I'm really pointing this to JD because Kory was with the shits. As JD was like, I don't know, Where we at, JD? How's that level of comfortability?
It's a great start for me to learn how to get better and better at, though. I get my lighting at so I don't have the little angel perspective.
I thought you were going for it. I thought it was came with you.
Now I can feel Essie right now going, JD, I told you to put something over that doggone. So all of that.
We'll have that to you later. But tell everyone where they can find you and where they can find your pages, so they can follow you, Kory and JD, and then also where they can follow Same Difference.
So go to samedifference.life. Sorry, Kory.
Go ahead.
And follow us. You can reach the links. It's same_difference podcast on some of the social media, but you can get to those links at samedifference.life and reach out to us anytime. Same Difference Broadcast at gmail.com. We love to hear from everybody.
Right. You can follow me at Kory May on LinkedIn or Kory Thomas May on Facebook.
Make sure you follow the right Kory May.
Right.
Same Difference Kory May.
Follow them both.
Okay.
Follow them both just to make sure you got to the right one.
Yeah, overall, just a great time. JD's got content. Oh,
Race for
JD
What?
has a book.
Yes, please.
We got to flack the book.
Yeah. So that might be something we do in the summer. Is Kory's been getting caught up on the book, and we might do a little special live where Kory and I just talk about Race for What. And so check out raceforwhat.com and follow me on all of the social media links from there as well.
You can buy the book on Amazon. It's a great read. JD tells wonderful stories, and you hear it in his exact voice. It's a good read.
And if you know
You can
JD's
even
voice,
hear
if
the
you read it,
audio
you can hear it.
Yeah, you can even hear the audio book in my exact voice too. So
Oh, I love it.
If you pay enough, I'll sit at the foot of your bed and read it to you.
You're too big for that. I'll see your big ass.
I want you to know I'm not being threatening. I'm reading a book to
you. Kory just gotta walk inside. I'm reminding you guys, I'm just entering the store. I'm not being threatening.
I'm just here to read the book. Oh my
Get
gosh.
my condensed milk and my peaches.
That's it. And
out the way.
Right. You guys are a true joy. Thank you so much for having us here today. We cannot wait for season 2. So, we're all taking a hiatus. We're going to get some things done over the summer. We're all going to be pumping out content. So look for Same Difference Podcasts. Again, samedifference.life. You get all of the links and you can watch and listen to the last episodes, rewatch, spin this episode. We'll be chopping it up, and we love and appreciate you guys, and we'll see you all very soon.
Love you guys too. Thank you.
Same Difference family, man, and everybody that's tuning in, Same Difference podcaster, viewers, listeners, whatever you're gonna call them. I don't know what you guys are gonna call them. You gotta come up with
all of that.
Family. We'll check you guys later in season 2.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys on Thursday for VPR. So don't forget, it's going to be another great episode. Bye, everyone.